Waiting for technology to start up. And there we are. We are live 1 minute early for Triple T number 76. Holy smokehouse, as Papa would say. Yes, we are here. And we're alive and well. I want to thank everybody for joining in. And for those of you on YouTube, hi, Mom. Yeah, got to give a shout out to my mom. My name is TJ Zebill. I lovingly refer to myself as a professional problem solver, which does not mean I know everything. I just have a way of asking people questions to figure out ways to help them, to help themselves, to get over things. I'm also a board certified clinical hypnotist and help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, smoke cessation, and a few other things, as are some of our amazing guests here tonight. Always happy to be in your presence. I also have a YouTube channel. Those of you watching on YouTube channel knew that, but those that are joining may not. It's TSWB Helps. And I have a website, theTSWB.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. Yes, that's actually what it stands for. I do offer a free 30-minute consultation. That is your time to ask me any questions, talk about whatever you want. It's your time. And if you have something you're looking for help with, I will let you know if we're a fit. If not, I will let you know that as well and help you find somebody who can help you out. That takes care of all of the introduction blah, blah, blahs. As I've got a few texts today that a few people are going to be running late. Lenora will not be joining us tonight because she is on vacation. She will be missed, but I told her, no checking in. You're on vacation. You eat the eats and you smell the smells and you touch the buildings and you see the things and you take the pictures and you don't think about work. And yes, that's why we all need vacations. And ironically, some of you know this, but some of you may not. I am here tonight because of an invite-only travel club. That is how I met Dr. David Snyder. Not knowing he was into hypnosis and all that stuff. Good thing I didn't know, because back then my ideas were all jaded like a bunch of other people. Like, oh my gosh, are you trying to, are you hypnotizing me? No, that you can't be hypnotized with. So yes. And so yes, travel is extremely important. I hope that all of you get a chance to go on a vacation, preferably not a staycation, but if that's all that you can afford, make it worth your while. But get out there. Now that we are able to leave our domiciles again, go see the world. It will change you. I lived in Europe for a year, just working and traveling, and found out that I was not the same person that I thought I was back home in that tiny little box that they built for me. And made it a little interesting to go back home, because God bless them. I love them still. They all tried to put me back in that little box, and I'm like, I don't fit in there anymore. They're actually growing a little bit. I've seen things. You should too. Oh, I like my little box. I know all the corners. So, I forgot. Anybody got anything they want to share from the last time that we spent time together? Any ahas, epiphanies, fun stories, good jokes, anything? No? So shall we dive into the 3 topics that were downloaded and handed to me by my flock of squirrels over here? Yes, I have many squirrels. If you hang around me long enough, you'll know some of them are quite interesting. But topics for this week are head in the clouds, complete versus meet, and ABT. So head in the clouds. This one was actually given to me. I will give credit to Lenora, who actually got on her vacation. She got to do some hiking up. She's Switzerland, I believe it is, or Italy, and got to see the Matterhorn. And as she was hiking up and up and up and up and up, and they started getting into the clouds. They were that far up, or the fog, the clouds were that far down, and she got a little epiphany of, it's almost like when you're trying to be an entrepreneur or try something new, and you know where you want to go, but it's kind of a struggle, because you realize this isn't the direction you want to go. That's too easy. So you pick an incline, and it can be exhausting, but all of a sudden you start getting into the clouds, you get into the fog, and you can't quite see where you're supposed to go. And other people have done it before. But then the voices start popping in, whether it be friends or family trying to help you along the way, or even your own limiting beliefs. And they're especially loud in the clouds. One of the best metaphors I heard was, it's almost like running a marathon. And you've seen the marathons where everybody's along the route, and they're cheering you on, except for friends and family. How sad is it that friends and family are the only ones that will throw sticks at your feet while you're trying to run? Why don't you go back to that other job? That was really secure. You're doing what? You'll never make money doing that. Well, I heard somebody else didn't make it. And all these things they do to help because they don't want to see you change. Change can be scary. What if you change so much that they start noticing they haven't changed? What if you get so much better that they realize that they haven't done enough? What if you get the nicer house that they could have, should have, would have had? And then sometimes the guilt kicks in on I've seen this with some of my clients of, well, why should I have this if they don't? Who am I to think that I'm worth it? Who am I to think that I should have a better lifestyle? I mean, I've made it this far. And again, there you are in the clouds, and you can only see the trail right at your feet. And sometimes you just want to stop and go, you know what? Maybe this is a good place for me to stay. Or I'm never going to get out of these clouds. Oh my goodness. I've been marching forever. Has anybody ever felt that way? Like you've been marching and walking and going uphill and tripped on a couple of sticks and heard a couple of scary sounds. Was that a bear? Oh, I thought that stick was a snake. I almost died. I could have died. There could be a snake. I don't know. And then all of a sudden you go far enough and you're above the clouds and there's the sun. And you get to where the clouds finally dissipate and you look down at where you started and your car is about this big. If you can see it, you're like, wow, I can't believe I made it this far this quick. Good thing I didn't quit. And then what happens when you get that far? Friends and family. I knew you could do it. I just knew. Oh, you go. Yes, that's a great house. You deserve it. Anybody ever have one of those happen? Uh-huh. And then you get the choices. You can smile and go, yes, thank you for all your support. Or you can go, yes, by the way, did you want these knives back? And here's a couple of sticks. I can't move that log. You're just going to have to take that yourself. But that's all part of striving to be better, becoming a better version of ourselves every day in every way. Because we can. One of the big benefits I get out of helping clients is sometimes what they're going through is a big mirror on things I need to work on. I'm like, what? I thought I was perfect. I thought I had everything figured out. I know. But the satisfaction of helping them get through the clouds to see the sun, and then helping them when they realize that, oh, this is just a plateau. Oh, there's more. Yep, there's more. You gonna go for it? I don't know. It's kind of nice here on this flat spot. Kind of resty testy. I could get kind of comfy here. No, it's too small. So, any questions, ahas, epiphanies so far? I can get rolling and toss some other stuff. So. Yes, go.
Just something that kind of popped into my head as we were going through this whole thing was just the idea of how mad it can make me when somebody else tries to take credit for what I do, especially when you're saying, as you're saying, you know, they were the frontline people tearing me down. So I did it in spite of them, not because of them. And it was just kind of that reminder of sometimes I think you need to spend time around the people who give you credit and make you feel good about your accomplishments, because there will always be people who try to take credit for what you do. And it's not about necessarily stopping them, but as much as I like to say, oh, credit doesn't matter, sometimes it does matter. Sometimes you need that moment where you could celebrate it. Maybe not the whole world, but you need somebody to give you the credit.
Even if it's an inner version of yourself.
I like that.
Being supported, being told that you matter, being acknowledged that you've done something is important. That's one of the things that I loved about carpentry and construction. You start out with a plan on a piece of paper, and it doesn't matter if you're doing a remodel or a brand new build. You work your butt off, and at the end of the day, you go, oh, did something. And sometimes we forget to take pictures along the way, because it's really easy to forget the amount of steps, stages, progress that it took to get to the final point. And going through it right now, I'm remodeling our move-in ready apartment that we got sold that was on the property. And it ended up being a full gut and redo. And I ran across a couple of the pictures from a year and a half ago. How different. And I like it when I've got a few clients now that have stuck around and braced because they want to keep growing more and more. And I had a client today that she was dealing with some comments that were told to her and brought up some challenges. And I went, okay, I want you to pause. Close your eyes and think back to where you were 2 years ago. Think back to where you were a year ago. Who are you today, and what level is this challenge in respect to where you've come from in the last 2 years? All of a sudden, that mountain shrunk. Whoa. Oh, I got this. Good. Sometimes we forget how far we've come. That's one of the nice things about when you can get the clouds to clear a little bit. All you know is that you've been walking and working and hiking and trudging and carrying and moving and tripping and all the above. Sometimes you need somebody to remind you, whether it's the clouds opening up just long enough to let you see where you started, and for somebody else to go, you can make it there. That's only 10% more. You've got this. To answer the, well, what about the what ifs? And, well, when I was a kid, well, my parents told me, my best friend once said to me, one of my favorite protocols on that, and I know that a bunch of you have heard this before, but some of you have not. And if this is the first time if this is the first recording you've watched, you haven't heard it, but I love to tell people that I'm going to ask you this question twice. And I'll ask them, what is the exact date, including the year, and the exact time? I'll have them answer and they'll be like, okay, so it's June 13th, 2023, where I'm at is 6:20 p.m. The fact that you can hear my voice and we can have this conversation right now means that you have survived 100% of everything life has ever thrown at you. There is not one single thing from your past that you are not stronger than. I'm going to let that sink in for just a little bit. Now I want your conscious and your subconscious to both realize that today is June 13th, 2023. It is in Dallas, Texas, 6:20 p.m. Check the clock where you're at. But the fact that we can have this conversation right now, that you can hear my voice, that you can understand what I'm saying, that you're breathing and your heart is beating, means that you have survived 100% of everything life has ever thrown at you. There is not one single thing from your past you are not stronger than. And that doesn't mean that you didn't have some, oh my goodness, learning moments and things that you had to go through. But you have survived every single one of them. There's not one single thing from your past that you are not stronger than. Now notice the clouds clearing up. Look at where you've been, what you've survived, what you've come through. The boy said, but I don't know the trail. And the horse said, can you see the next step? The boy said, yes. And the horse said, good, take that one. Sometimes when we drive at night, we can only see as far as the headlights go. But we still get to drive. Anything else anybody would add to that before we switch the gears? Yes, no? Good stuff? Victory! Hey, okay. Next one, complete versus meet. And it's M-E-E-T, not M-E-A-T. And this came from another client doing the wait to date protocol. And this kind of ties in with ABT. But when I have my clients do their king or queen list, and I tell them, if you're going to put in your order, go all in. Every single detail that you can think of, and make sure that you also list the stuff you don't want. You list everything you want. You list everything you don't want. Because you'll be amazed at the inventory the universe has. But the other thing that And this was a quote right from my client. I don't want somebody to complete me. I want somebody to meet me. Let that sink in. I don't need somebody to complete me. I'm whole. I want somebody to meet me. Join me in my adventure. Do the things that be the person that wants to do the things that I like to want to do. Don't throttle me down. Don't make me shrink. Help me make my light brighter. Enhance my energy. Make it bigger. Because when you are complete, you don't need another person. You get to be with the other person. They get to be with you. I don't need somebody to complete me. I just want someone to meet me. Let's live life full throttle, top gear, ride the bull, hanging onto the horn, screaming like a 5-year-old and giggling to where people wonder what's going on. They couldn't hear the music, so they thought that we were crazy because they saw us dancing and didn't understand. People that know me know. My wife will tell you, I will dance. Good song comes on, I will dance in the grocery store. Right now, you know why? Because 2 people smiled when I did that. Saw it. And I have no problem with that. I needed somebody that was, she's learning, God bless her. I love my wife, but I didn't hold back when we met because I was in the wait to date protocol. I was 100% unapologetically me, the good, the bad, the ugly, all the fun stuff in between. She hasn't gotten any, well, I can't say any. She's gotten very few surprises since we've been together. And my clients who have had success with the wait to date protocol, same thing. Because you approach dating in an entirely different energy. It's not the, oh, are you the one? Will you pick me? Will you pick me? Can you fog a mirror? How about you? Are you the one? Oh, but you could be the one. Oh, you're cute. You could be the one. It's a year of, I just want to do stuff. I want to see what it's like to live being the meest me I've ever been. Full throttle. I want to try things that I didn't know I liked before. I want to be on adventures. Life is an adventure. I want to learn new things. I want to grow. And I don't want new anchors put on me. I don't want somebody who's going to hold me back. I want somebody who's going to add to put another brick on the throttle for me. Any questions, ahas, epiphanies, add-ons?
Oh, this isn't much, but just as you were talking, one of the things that's coming to my mind about the word neat is one of the old English kind of meanings is someone who is suitable or appropriate, or something that is suitable or appropriate. So, I mean, I'd never thought about that before. I think it's a great way to do it, but I think that word, using that word, has multiple meanings and multiple good meanings on it as well.
Yay! Now, there are a few other things that this can apply to as well, like a new job. And I know that there's some people watching like, yes. I explained to one of my clients that, grandma and grandpa, they were legacy employees. I've worked at the same place for 35 years, and he worked there for 42 years. And then it was just, well, they updated the machine. So we got a gold watch and a severance package and retirement. And we're good. Those days aren't here anymore. Those days existed because the employers were very loyal to employees. Sadly, I've seen very little of that anymore. My wife does executive recruiting, and what she's pointed out is now when they look at work history, seeing somebody that has been a legacy employee is not the bonus that it used to be. What have you done with yourself? What have you grown? How have you grown? What have you done to improve your marketability? What have you done to add more skills to yourself? And job jumping, position jumping isn't the red flag that it used to be. As long as it's vertical jumps versus horizontal jumps. When they see a bunch of horizontal jumps, then they're going to say, okay, so what made you leave this job for the exact same? Now, it could be toxic work environment, could be whatever. Few of those are understandable. Few too many of those, what's the common denominator? But when it's vertical jumps, better pay, better work conditions, better hours, all the above, that's moving forward. Now you apply the wait to date protocol, and my philosophy back in the day was always, I was looking for a job when I got this one. That combined with a lot of travel, yes, I've had 28 different professions. But it gave me work skills that was probably the only way that I could accomplish all the different things that I know about that I can help different people with. I now know how to come up with metaphors and analogies for everybody from the garbage man to the carpenter to the car salesman to the bartender to all the way up to the millionaire and the the doctor, and all the above. So again, applying the wait to date protocol, what if you kept looking at what's out there, writing your list about what is your king job? Oh my gosh, it would have to pay me this much. I would need this much flexibility. I would want at least this much vacation capabilities, different allotments. Try and figure out who's doing what, who's doing something with your type of skill sets, and who's at the top of the game. And sometimes, I hate to say it, but when you analyze the difference in the skill sets from yours to theirs, sometimes the only difference in the skill set is their ability to ask for more money. You're just as qualified as they are. They just won't settle for the amount of pay that you are willing to settle for. So if you took a year, maybe 2, to go out and apply yourself, do some interviews as practice. Find out what skill sets you could work on your own time to improve your marketability. Look for alternative areas where your skill sets may fit in. If you would only add one extra little skill set. When I stumbled across Dr. David, this was not even in my high beam headlights. Even on a flat road on a clear day, I did not see that coming. And yet here we are. Maybe I'm just one of the crazy ones. But I'm fine. But also, what we got here. Elijah, I bargained with life for a penny, and life would pay no more. However, I begged that evening when I counted my scanty store. Life is just an employer. He gives you what you ask. But once you have set the wages, why, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial's hire, only to learn dismayed that any wage I had asked of life, life would have willingly paid. Jesse B. Rittenhouse. Thank you for that, Elijah. Yes. And I was one of the ones that was in survival mode. Found out that I could survive on $26,000 a year. Even a little less. I was talented like that. Wore it like a badge of honor. And then I found people who were less skilled than I was, admittedly, making 4 times as much as I was because they weren't afraid to ask. And I got all sorts of emotions, well, they're just greedy. No, they're just no. But at the end of the day, I was wondering how I was going to keep the light bill paid, and they were going on vacation. I was praying to God that my car wouldn't break down, and they just bought another truck. I was bargain shopping in the reduced prices area in the grocery store. They were going out to the really nice restaurant and ordering their meals on the left side of the menu. Anybody know what that means? Yeah. When you go to the restaurant and you order from the left side of the menu only, that means you don't look at the price. You decide what you want to eat. That's why you went to the restaurant. And I still every now and then catch myself ordering from the right side of the menu and negotiating. Oh, God. I could really go for, yeah, but the chicken is $4 cheaper. Chicken again. Save $4. I found more than that in the sofa cushion from a free couch. Sometimes you got to understand you're worth it. Pay the extra $4. Have the steak.
And might I add,
Yes.
you can't take it with you when you die.
Yes.
Now, I'm not telling people to be irresponsible with their money or anything. Like, obviously, be responsible,
Yes.
but enjoy yourself because, can we talk? Can I ask you to talk about something? I'll tell you what, I save it for the second hour. And then I have something I'd like to talk about, or I'd like you to talk about a little bit.
Good. Please write it down. But I'm glad you brought that up because I think it was it Grant Cardone? Somebody on TikTok or Instagram had a really good analogy about chips all in. And the concept was, he said, we're all sitting here playing and we're trying to gather up as many chips as we can. We don't realize that when the game is over, we don't get to take our chips with us. He goes, the house I'm in right now, I realized I'm the third owner. And the person that built the house is dead. He didn't get to take the house with him. My first house was built in 1895. How many games were those chips in? I don't have it right now. Sold it. House I bought after that, I don't have any more. Lost it. And it kind of hit me there that's why I dance in public. That's why I turn up the music. That's why I love to cook, because I don't like eating bad food. That's why I came up with the surprise special for food. I don't have time to go into the whole concept of the surprise special, but basically it's like, here's my money, give me some food. What do you like? Everything. Are you sure? If I don't like it, that's on me. Surprise me. And I've had some of the best food. Got the pictures and the stories to prove it. Which I'm just gonna, we got 16 minis left in the first hour, so I'm gonna segue that right into ABT. Who knows what ABT is? That's always.
You can't see, but I'm raising my hand.
What?
You might not have been able to see that, but I was raising my hand.
Good. Always be testing. Always be testing. Always be testing. I know that those of you that are Triple T veterans have heard me say this, and you're going to hear me say it a lot more. But it can be about everything. Are you where you want to be? Is this food the best I've had? Are my skill sets where I want them to be? Do I have time to add another skill set? If so, what would I add? Is my client being a good client? I've had to fire a couple of clients. Anybody else been there? They're just like, you're right. Can't help you. What? Well, that's funny how they. If you're gonna undo everything that we do right in front of me, as much as I can use the money, I have other ways. I have ways that I want to earn it, not take it. Always be testing. Are you eating for health? Or are you eating to put food in your gut? Always be testing. Are you taking care of your body as good as you can? Is your bed the most appropriate platform for you to get the rest you need? Are the pillows that you have the best you can have for the rest that you need? I know, I've held on to some pillows way longer than I should have. And then I went to the store and that's all they cost? You go to some of the hotels. It's what I love about travel. There have been some beds that I climbed into and I'm like, this bed is so, and you wake up 8 hours later and you're like, best sleep ever. And then you leave it there. And you go back home and you toss and turn and wake up and need, 2 pots of coffee because you barely slept. And you get back into that routine. Always be testing. What kind of mattress does that hotel have? Does it have a topper? Does it sell those pillows? The hotels that have the pillow menu, I order them all. You know what they bring me? All of them. And then I get to play around like Goldilocks. This one's too big. This one's too small. This one is just right. And I've actually bought a couple of them. Because you're worth it. What else can you apply to that? Anybody got anything that, any ahas, epiphanies, things to throw in there so that to add to the list? Oh, I hear the chipmunk squealing now.
Is this feeling mine or someone else's?
Yes, exactly. The other part about that is how can you bring in the best parts to your life? And do comparisons. Part of the testing is even I keep bouncing back to the wait to date protocol where always be testing, but I let them know that includes everybody around you. How do they make you feel and why? Pay attention to that stuff because it's all reflective onto your values and criteria. This person makes me feel X. How come? I don't know. Well, you should. The more you understand why people make you feel a certain way, the more you understand about yourself. The more you understand about yourself, the easier it is to decide what you want to do about that. Do you want to change it around so that they no longer have that ability, that power over you? Or is it time to move them to a different part of your life? You are the king or the queen of your kingdom. Are they allowed? Should they even be allowed on the kingdom anymore? Yes, queendom. There you go. Are they allowed outside of the city walls? Are they allowed inside the city walls? Are they allowed inside the castle? Are they allowed to sit at the head table? You decide that. Always be tested. What gets served on the head table? And the cool part is with the testing, there's got to be a little research and development. I haven't tried that before. Ooh, that's scary. But what if I don't like it? But what if you do? And even if you don't like it, now you know. But here's my rule, especially when it comes to food. Try everything 3 times. Those of you that don't know me, why 3 times on food? Because they're bad cooks and they're bad ingredients. You wouldn't believe the number of times that I brought that up with people and I said, okay, so what is one of your absolute favorite foods? And regardless of what they'll say, I go, okay, so have you ever had that food where it wasn't that great? Somebody kind of messed it up. And inevitably they all go, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Uh-huh." What if that was the first and the second time you tried it? Would it be your favorite food? Well, no. And yet you're saying that I don't like that because it looks icky. What are you, two? It may look icky. Now, I'm not saying you have to go and, there was a couple of those TV shows where they make you eat stuff that is just stupid. Like, here, eat this raw eyeball. No. You still stay in the confines that, more than 100 people will willingly sit down and happily enjoy it. But that's part of always be testing. And I'll admit, there have been, thank God I embraced that at a young age. That's why I love food so much. Because I realized that, there were a number of things. First time I tried it, second time, third time it showed up, and I'm like, fine. Well, and this doesn't mean 3 forkfuls out of the same plate. No, that's still trying it once. But the third time, I'm like, all right, fine. I get to wipe it off the plate. I just need to try it one more time. And the third time I tried it, I'm like, this is really good. Bad cooks, bad ingredients. The other thing I've learned, as you age, your tastes change. There are things that I will eat now that when I was young, physically would not agree, like make a mess. Now, totally different. So, what else? Where else could we apply that?
Well, the first thing that's been going through my mind as you've been saying that is how that applies to people and how, how many people do I know that if I'd met them on a bad day, I would have written them off completely. But also the flip side, how many people do I meet that they seem awesome in 5 minutes, and so I never test them again, and I allow them to get away with murder just because they happen to be awesome the first 5 minutes I met them.
Yes. That's why the wait to date protocol is 1 year. Well, what if I meet my king the first week? Good. If he's your king, he'll actually be there in another 51 weeks. But I've got a client right now that jumped the gun 6 months into the protocol and has already been in 2 relationships. And the first one, woo, high-speed car wreck, downhill. Best thing ever, though. Taught them massive amounts of lessons about people and themselves. Talk about always be testing. Woo! Second one is doing the same thing. But because they are able to remind themselves that they're still in the protocol, the moving onness is not nearly the process that it was before. That's why I say apply it to other stuff, job searches. I was looking for a job when I got this one. I'm gonna give myself 3 different jobs to get to the king. Whatever it takes, but always be testing. Don't settle. You're worth it. And that brings us to the top of hour 1. Yay! Thank you guys for sticking around. Now, it's time for hour number 2. For those of you that are new, this is where it's open platform, open mic. If you got questions or topics that you want to ask, you get to ask them, and everybody on the call gets to answer first because I want to learn as well. And then if I got something to add to it, I will do so when everybody else has got their part in. So who's got something for me? I know Elijah does.
Yo, what's
Yo.
up? How's it going? Good morning. It's nice and early, 1 a.m.
1 a.m. in England.
I'm wide awake. Yeah, you were talking about spending the extra $4 to have the not chicken, and I said something to the extent of, well, you can't take it with you when you die anyway, right? I wanted to talk a little bit about like the value of the journey versus the value of the destination. And a lot of people get kind of hung up on the destination, that they kind of forget to enjoy themselves on the way too, especially when it's like a longer goal. They seem to think that, oh, if I'm going to get in shape, that means I must torture myself for an entire year until I'm in shape. Well, no, you can also have fun, and you can also sometimes eat nice stuff, and you can celebrate people's birthdays and have a slice of cake. And that doesn't mean that you're some kind of sinner, right? And you can still achieve your goal probably faster because you're having fun. Because it has been proven, this is something I've been banging on about for years and years now. It has been proven that people who have fun learn better and faster, and they retain the information, right? So if you can enjoy the journey, I think that's a huge thing that a lot of people underestimate, because you don't really know where the destination, none of us really know where the destination is. And the thing is, the closer we get to it, the more likely we are to move the goalpost anyway.
Yes.
Like we get closer and closer to our goal, and we're like, well, actually, I want that, and then like hey, Allegra's here. I haven't seen Allegra in years. Hey, Allegra. Well, she can't hear me, maybe, or she can, but we can't hear her. Okay, doesn't matter. Yeah, there's there's like an old story. There was like a maiden, and she came across a genie who promised her a gift, and all she had to do was walk through a cornfield and pick the biggest, best ear of corn that she could find, and the gift that he would give her would be in proportion to how good a piece of corn she picked. But there were conditions. One was that she's only allowed to pick one. And secondly, she must walk straight through the field and not wander hither and thither, And so she kind of starts walking through the field, and she sees many great ears of corn, many perfect ones. But she's thinking, you know what? Maybe I'll find like a super perfect special one a little bit further along the way. And she goes a little bit further and passes the first lot up in scorn, and she keeps going. And unfortunately, the soil was not quite as good further along, and the corns were like, not as healthy and not as big as the ones that she'd seen. And she couldn't pick one of these now, after having seen the good one. So she just keeps going and hoping that, the soil will improve and she'll find something else better further and further ahead. And she just keeps going and going and going and leaves the field as empty-handed as when she came in. And this is the thing, right? Many of us are so fixated on that image of the perfect thing that we want and the place we want to go and the person we want to become and what we'll have when we're there and how that life is going to be, that what we don't realize is the only way that could exist is with all the little decisions that we make along the way. It's the sum of that. It's not like it's gonna, you're gonna wake up one day and, oh, I'm here. Hello, my life is perfect now. Everything, the fairies came overnight and did their magic, and now I'm rich and healthy and, have lots of wonderful friends and, happy ever after kind of thing. There is a result of the sum of all the tiny action. This is why New Year's resolutions don't work, right? Because it's not about one big moment. It's about a million little moments, right? So that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to talk about. And I would love it if other people could chime in on this. The value of the journey versus the value of the destination.
I got to jump in real quick and break my rule, but before I forget, there is that saying that the person who loves to run will run much farther than in the race than the person that is only trying to get to the finish line. And another story that you reminded me of was a father and his son were cleaning out the house after mom had passed away. And dad was going through some stuff and he said, wow, here's that negligee that she wanted to save for a special day. It's never been worn. Oh, here's the chocolates that she wanted to save because they were so special, but now they're not edible. Don't wait for a special day. You woke up this morning. That's pretty damn special. Eat the chocolates, wear the nice stuff, live well. And like Elijah pointed out, that doesn't mean that you go on a full gluttony and just tear through everything, all your money. But pay attention to the miracles happen around you and realize that you are worth it.
I'm worth it, TJ. You're right.
You are worth it, Elijah. Yes. Talk to me, Jade.
I'll go ahead and share since we're on that topic. I will share basically a journey, a hypnotic journey that I went on, in which I had this realization that I hadn't known before and nobody ever taught me. But I'll go ahead and I'll just read it because I journaled it down after I had the journey. So, and I made a piece of artwork, which I don't know if you guys can see it or not. The rose.
Oh, cool.
In space. Okay. So, a rose came to me while I was in trance. She looked at me as if I were the sun. Then I became the rose, and I looked upon myself through the perception of the rose. How could it be that I was a rose to the rose, just as beautiful in every way, fragrant, petals soft, yet thorns sharp enough to draw blood, perfect in every imperfection. And if a rose could smile a smile, mine was a radiant projection of love. Then I looked out into the world, at the chaos, at the destruction, and I saw the paths of duality merge into one destination. And I knew that eventually, no matter what path is taken, no matter how long or short of a path we choose, we will get to the intended destination. We will travel home and become part of the whole being that we truly are, as one body, mind, spirit, no longer separate. We will no longer be fragmented pieces that do not recognize each other. But we will see into the mirrors of ourselves and know who we are. And we will embrace ourselves in love. It was in knowing this that I realized that it was the process that was the most important part to focus on and not the destination. So that was my little hypnotic journey in which I learned that for the first time.
Awesome.
Well,
And you reminded me of one of my favorite quotes that said, you can choose to be angry that rose bushes have thorns, or be thankful that thorn bushes have roses, because it's the same bush. It's simply what you focus on. Cool, cool. Who else has got something?
I have one.
Awesome.
It's it is about the process and not the destination. So I was doing art with my kids in school today. And they're autistic, and they were just enjoying putting the paintbrush in the watercolor and then putting it in the water and then painting my hand, and that was pretty much it. But they were having the best time, and it wasn't about making the art or making it pretty. And I was like, you're mixing up the colors and your paper is brown, but you're having a great time. So I'm having a great time.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's it. Process is better than destinations, and just enjoying doing everything that you do.
Good. And it's good to see your face again. I miss you, darn it.
Good to see you too.
So
I
there.
finally make it. Yeah. I have to go back and do some more dishes.
And who else has something to share? Another topic, another question. Don't all jump in at once. Otherwise, it's funny how you guys are all polite chipmunks. After you. After you. No, seriously, after you. What? You go first. I don't want to impose.
This is just kind of a response to the last one. Oh, I was just gonna say, one of the thoughts that kind of came to me with what Allegra was saying is just the idea that sometimes the journey is the more important, but also the journey we choose to take. You could take the more interesting journey. Everyone else may think if the destination is the important thing, you got to get there as fast and as quickly as possible. But if you recognize that the journey is what it's all about, you could take the scenic route and it's okay. So yeah, just something that popped into my head.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lenora sent me a whole list of questions because she won't ask them while she's on Triple T, and then all of a sudden I get 7 of them. If you looked at life as a game, would it be an easier or a harder mindset to live by? And go.
Kind of do already a little bit. I'm a big Alan Watts fan. For those of you who don't know, I do like listening to Alan Watts quite a lot. Well, not so much these days, but I have listened to him a lot. And there was one of the lectures where he talks about it being a game and seeing it through game theory. And I kind of like that perspective, and I've kind of adopted that myself. I don't think it's a game in the sense that I'm trying to win, or that, you know, it's a competition against other people or anything like that, but more that it's a game against my former self, right? That I am my own competition. Like my procrastination, my anger, or my sadness, that's my competition. you know, the angry Elijah or the sad Elijah or the procrastinating Elijah. That's what I got to face. That's what I got to get over. That's what I have to overcome, you know, and try to be better. And that's what the game is. The game is just me trying to be a little bit better each time. And I think it's a cool way of looking at it, you know, because the more you progress through the different levels, you know. Also, I heard, while we're on the subject, you know, I also heard someone make a joke once that first 18 years of life are free to play, and then it's very much pay to win.
That's true.
Okay, anybody else got any questions or things they want to add to that, or? Come on, people. This is your time.
I was thinking the same thing about when he said the game. I realized after he said that it wasn't about competition or that other people are winning. I was like, oh, I don't play games that do that. I play games that just allow me to like explore the world or explore characters and like do different things like that. Just about enjoying the process. And I don't think I've ever finished a whole game. That's all. It's not done yet.
I was thinking about that too. Probably it depends on how somebody views playing a game. You know, if their intention is to have fun or to win. So.
Yep. Yes.
Just trying to work out how I can phrase this. I'm a compulsive fixer, and that kind of leads me into situations where I meet people who are really struggling. They say they want to fix themselves, and yes, they do in the big picture, but they're really stuck. And I don't like giving up on them. And part of me thinks maybe I should get out of that environment because it's actually affecting me. Any advice? I mean, the game of life that Elijah was talking about is kind of pertinent. That to me, this is the game. I don't want to give into this. And how can I do it better? How without losing me along the way?
I'll jump in on that one. So I think a huge part is in life, I think there's two kinds of people that come in, well, two kinds of maybe challenges, opportunities, whatever you want to call them, that come into our lives. And some of them are temptations of places where we're going to be tempted to give away our personal energy to something that's not of worth. And sometimes it's something that we really are supposed to embrace because it's going to be growth. It's going to be, so I would say a big thing is just check in with your gut and say, is helping this person going to lead to my growth? Is this somebody that was put into my life because I meant to help them? Or is this somebody that's been put into my life to tempt me to give away my personal power and basically enable them, not help them in any way? And we both end up a lot more hurt at the end of the experience than we would have been at the beginning.
I agree with that. I think that in that kind of situation, you probably just want to really begin to regulate your own emotions and thoughts around the situation so you can be really present. And yeah, I think that's going to help to be able to determine if it's something that's going to be beneficial, because for some people, they might just need someone there to be present and to just be there every once in a while, and that's it. So it depends on the situation.
And the second part of that question, actually, which I didn't think of at the time, is where is the line? I mean, this is an impossible one to answer. Where's the line between letting a person vent and externalize their pain? And where does it become unhelpful for them? Because, I mean, you know, if it's bursting to get out and it really hurting, getting it out is also important. But, there comes a point where you get caught up in your own story and it becomes self-perpetuating. Has anybody got any advice for me on that?
I'm going to jump in. I'm sure other people have tons to say too, but two things that immediately popped into my head. I don't know if you've ever read the book by Guy Winch. Can't remember the exact title, but it's about healing pain, basically. And he actually has an entire section in that book where he goes through that topic. But the other thing that popped into my head is Jordan Peterson had a discussion with his wife, Tammy, on her YouTube channel, where he talked about that. And they did some studies that showed, basically, if you can hear that there's problem solving, reframing, understanding that's coming out of the conversation, that is helpful, that is useful. If all it is doing is venting energy, all it's doing is feeding that energy. So if you can hear them saying, oh, I haven't been through this, you can hear them putting new pieces of information together. You can hear them coming up with new ways to problem solve. Then you're probably in a helpful place. But if it just feels like they're going around in circles and the energy is spiraling out of control, then you're probably in that unhelpful ruminating section.
Thanks, Holly. And the other thing is, sometimes with the pain comes the grief, and it kind of starts off with pain, and then it goes into grief about what they could have done and missed opportunities. And thanks for the comments, Elijah, in the chat. So yeah, again, where is healthy and where is, jump in and divert and redirect.
I was thinking when you said that, obviously if somebody's said things a few times, you've heard it a few times, or you're noticing it's spiraling, I would probably just, draw attention or awareness to their body so that you can shift it. And then have them become really present so that they can notice how there's nothing really going on in the present moment, and that they're actually creating the feelings that they're holding at that moment. So that they can step into a place of empowerment and notice how that they actually have some control over their state and over their thoughts, so that they can notice that they don't have to spiral. And if they want to choose to, of course they can, but then they can become very aware of that. The other thing I was gonna mention as well was that, let's see, what was it that I was gonna mention? Oh, I lost it. Apparently it wasn't too important.
We'll come back to you in just a bit. One thing I wanted to throw in there as a dedicated fix-it person, I've had to learn, especially with my wife, to ask, is this something that you're looking for solutions to, or is it something that you simply need to vent? Do you need me to just be here to hear what you have to say, or do you want me to give you solutions? And that's helped a lot, because sometimes people are just, I just need to get this off my chest. Well, then you listen to it differently. When you think that they're trying to ask you for solutions, you'll have much more energy invested into it, because you're sitting there trying to absorb what they're putting out so that you can figure out how to find a solution. Okay.
I remembered what I was going to say now. So I was thinking about this client I had, and I thought it was really interesting. She was in a lot of pain in her physical body, actually, due to the emotions that she had been holding for a very, very long time. And she had a lot of negative emotions around what she didn't get from her childhood that didn't allow her to sort of go in a certain direction in life that she really wanted to. But what we both found really interesting was that in looking at the choices that she made in life, I don't even know how it came about, but I asked her, you know, if she had a decision between going the direction that she says that she wanted to, that she was kind of, you know, constantly thinking about and upset about, or to make the decision that she had made, which was to actually create something for people who didn't get that either, which one she would have really chosen. And she realized she would have made the exact same decision to have the exact same experience and to create what she created. And she came to a realization that she had purpose in her life, and that meant even more than, you know, getting that experience that she wanted to have. So I thought that was really interesting, just the perspective kind of shift there, that somebody might realize when they're looking back on things, they might think they would have made a different decision. But if, you know, you kind of take it apart and look at it, they might realize they might have made the exact same decisions.
I love all
That's
the
really
wisdom you guys bring. Thank you.
That's what I was gonna say. That ties into what you asked, Fran, about when somebody has all these regrets and like, I wish I would have, and if I just did this and this would have happened. But then if you can give them that perspective to look at it and say, well, what has that taught you? What can you do next time? What can you do for other people? Like, what can you use and learn from this situation that you don't like?
And I think that what you can do for other people is hugely empowering, that people, it takes people from being stuck in themselves to being able to change the world.
Right.
And yeah, thank you, Allegra. That was great.
This is completely off topic, just so that I can have this recorded. My left ear just clicked again and I could hear out of my left ear. It happens, it's getting rarer and rarer, but when I try to tell the doctors that, no, it's not nerve damage, every now and then something will click. I can cover this ear and I can hear this fine. And now it just clicked again and now I can hear it again. So there. Guess I got to get that fixed.
That's an easy one. Don't worry.
Yes.
Maybe it's a really important marker of
I don't
what's
know.
going on and what to pay attention to as well.
Yeah.
When does it happen? Is there some sort of hidden unconscious pay attention happening?
Yeah, see, I'd go the other way, Fran. I'd be tempted to go the other way. How does it not happen the times that it doesn't happen? I mean,
Periods.
how do you
Elijah,
do that?
I love your questions like that.
how do you
Elijah, your microphone's not working again.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. This thing is so getting changed by the weekend. It's really driving me mad. Microphone. Apologies.
I thought he was just showing you guys how my left ear hears when it doesn't work.
That's what I was gonna say. It's happening to me now.
Contagious, like laughter.
Yes.
Did you ever laugh because someone else was laughing? Even though you didn't know why that other person was laughing? I mean, like you just saw them across the room. Maybe you didn't even know the person.
And remember what it was like when you were a kid and everybody started giggling and you just couldn't stop and you couldn't catch your breath because you were laughing so hard, and how it hurt and felt wonderful at the same time.
And then when somebody comes in and tells you to stop laughing, and that makes it even worse.
That is the worst part of it. When you
The giggle, they call it the giggle
Like-
loop, right? The giggle loop, when you're not supposed to laugh. It's a somber
it's
occasion,
so bad.
you know.
That's why I love the gag reels on the film when people start to giggling. And it's like, take 7. Okay, I got this. I got this. I got this.
Those are my favorites too. Yeah. Mm.
Okay, who's got another topic or question? We've got 31 minutes left. Or do I have to pull another one off the list? What are some cool things people have done that have manifested within minutes, and how'd you do it?
Today, literally today, I clicked on a stream on Twitch, right? That I hadn't clicked on this streamer's channel for like ages, months, right? And I clicked, and my online name, if anyone wants to know, is FlashGit, right? So I used to play a character in a game, and I named him FlashGit, and it's stuck ever since. So that's so if you ever see FlashGit somewhere online, it's probably me. Anyway, so I jumped into this stream, and the first thing I heard the broadcaster say was, "Oh yeah, I confused your name with someone else, another British guy called FlashGit who's in here sometimes." And I just typed in the chat like, "Oh, speak of the devil and he shall appear." And she went, "How did you do that?" So it was kind of weird, not really a manifestation, if you like, kind of like an reverse manifestation thing. But somehow I randomly click on a stream and someone talks about me within the first 2 seconds of me arriving. So it was kind of strange. I don't know.
You got manifested.
I got manifested. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember do you remember when you were in Peterborough and we did the whole genie thing? We did the genie, the Aladdin genie thing. Do you remember that in the course in like 2018 or something?
Yeah. Okay, so today, guess what? That reminder for that course came up today. All my pictures from that course.
Oh wow!
I was just
really?
looking at it. Yeah. Yep.
How's that for a second reverse manifestation in one day?
That's weird.
That's so cool. I do remember sometimes I listened to I remember everyone was at dinner and we did like a time distortion thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember you doing that.
Yeah. Good time.
And what's that a sign of, Elijah, with all these little ticklings from the universe manifesting?
I'm in the right place at the right time, dude. Somehow things are going my way. I don't know how, but I just got to keep it up. You know, just keep doing what I'm doing. And somehow it'll work out, right? At least, you know, fingers crossed.
I'll jump in with a couple stories. There's some people here I could tell multiple stories about multiple people in this group. I'm realizing a lot of my manifesting is I manifest people into my life who manifest things for me. I'm specifically thinking about, some stuff Elijah did for us on that trip that manifested a whole bunch of stuff for me, but also just following Allegra around one day. I needed a spoon and she said, "Oh, I'll manifest one of those for you." And like 1 minute later, she had a spoon for me. And then we were walking around and she said, "Oh, I need some chocolate." And some guy walked up to her and said, "Hey, do you want some chocolate?" So yeah, some really awesome experiences.
I remember that. It was fun.
My son does that all the time. It's so funny to watch. I've had these experiences a lot of different times as well. That one of them, it wasn't within like minutes, probably about like 30 minutes though. I was going through an emotional moment in my life, and I realized that I had a client I had to see. And I sat there and I thought to myself, I said, do I call my client and cancel and take care of myself right now? Or do I take care of my client? Because in taking care of my client, I'm also taking care of myself. I don't know what to do. And so I decided to drive to work and not cancel on my client. And I get to work and I get out of the car and I go up to my door and I realize that my office key is not on my keychain that I took, I accidentally had given it to my friend, and I said, oh no, now I can't even go in my office. I have to call my client. So I call my client. She picks up the phone, and I hear the TV in the background, and she's like, oh my gosh, I completely forgot that we even had an appointment. And I just like started cracking up laughing. I was laughing and crying at the same time. And I felt so taken care of. And, you know, that's one thing I do have to be careful of. I cancel clients like that now. If I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like working today, it's like I have to catch that thought, because all my clients will cancel. So yeah, that's one that I have to be very careful with.
That's so good that you listen to that intuition, because I've had that happen multiple times, and then like things that I've had happen, I'm like, I maybe I don't feel like doing that tonight, and then the other person calls and cancels, and I'm just like, all right, well maybe it wasn't for me, or maybe it was for them, and like there's so many things like that where you just have to listen to that instinct.
And it's interesting to me how people think that manifesting has to be for these massive, big life events. And I love manifesting good parking spots. The people that ride with me are just amazed. They're like, oh, we're never going to find a parking spot. It's just so busy. I'm like, we're going to find a great parking spot in the shade. They're like, in the shade too? Are you kidding? Yeah, like that one right there. How do you do this?
Wizardry 101. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the great ones. And noticing those small things too, and realizing that that's everything's working in this nice little cycle for you and other people.
And manifesting can roll over on it, keep advancing on itself. One of the things with the apartment that I'm working on right now, there are items there that I bought 3 years ago. Just price was good, wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. Brought it here, didn't know why. We packed it on the truck, and it was exactly what I needed for the project. So sometimes that manifestation can start building before you even understand what it's all about.
Okay, so well, that doesn't help my wanting to keep things, because I've done that. I've kept stuff for like 10 years, and I'm like, I'm never using this. I've kept it for 10 years. I'm going to get rid of it. And then like within a month, I'm like, I really needed that. I could have used that. That would have been perfect for this project. I'm like, really? 10 years. And then 1 month later, it's exactly what I needed.
Now you need to change your manifestation. Look out for, I'm going to start seeing all of the projects that I've saved these things for. And not only that, I will manifest the time that it takes to utilize all of these products that the universe has supplied to me.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I like that one. Why didn't I think of that? Okay.
Because I'm a solution purveyor.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was going to say this whole conversation is making me think too. I don't know how many of you have read the Chronicles of Prydain. You might be more familiar with it because the second book is called The Black Cauldron. That movie does not do justice to the book series, but anyway, I was just reading a book called Terran Wanderer, and there's a character in there that basically he considers himself the luckiest guy in the entire world, and the universe always just provides everything he needs. And then there's several steps to it, but one of the things is he's just always got his eye out, and everything the universe he sends to him, he takes it and says, the universe sent this to me for a reason. What reason could that possibly be? And then he's able to see uses for things that other people are not able to see because he sees everything that comes into his world. as coming to him for a reason. So anyway, this whole conversation is just kind of making me think of that story.
I like that, Holly. Thanks. That's really good. People and things too. Yeah.
Okay, we got 22 minutes left. Who's got another question or topic? Come on, I know you got them. Or do I have to go to the phone again? She's gonna love watching this replay.
Hi, Lenora.
Miss you,
Yes,
Lenora.
hello.
Oh,
I don't know you, but hello.
what are some metaphors people have for life when times are tough or things are hard to help get them through? Ooh, that got the gears grinding. I saw all that.
I usually use the mountain one that you used earlier. There's actually a video of me at the Hypnosis Motivation Institute doing a speech that's very similar to the mountain story. So
Cool.
I think at times like that, I tend to think, what sort of a transition am I going through? Because when I'm going through a transition of energy development, knowledge development, I tend to go through an absolute desert where nothing works. And I think that I know nothing, I can do nothing, and the whole world feels flat, and I feel really stupid. Until I remember, I've done this a few times before. And when I'm getting ready to do a big leap of understanding, intuition, or whatever, all the old has to be broken down, like building a house. If you're building a new house and there's an old house that's broken down there, you've got to clear away the rubbish first and prepare the ground with nothing until you can build this new building. And sometimes it's a quick process, and sometimes it takes a darned long time. But to have the belief out there that something good is coming, that this doldrum, this calming of the waters when nothing's happening, is just setting the stage for the new wonderful stuff to come in. And it does, but it's just holding on when you think that everything's fallen in a heap. That's the hard time. And that's what I try to remember, is that this is just a time of transition, that this is preparing for something good, something new, something even better than there was before. And does anybody else have any experiences like that?
I'll second that. It is so true. Just like whenever I notice I'm going through a time like that, I'm like, okay, so what am I supposed to be learning? What can I be learning? What is this trying to teach me? Like, I've learned how to look at things like that instead of going, oh, my life is so hard and this is going to be terrible and I can't do this. It's like just changing that mindset and seeing, hey, this is teaching me something. Hey, something good can come from this. I just have to, or I get to figure out what it is and learn from it and become better. That changes a whole lot. Yeah.
It's also why I tell everybody nothing means anything until you give it a label. If it's a trauma,
Very true.
it's a trauma. But if it's a lesson, that gives it a different look.
Yeah.
It's the same as the difference between I have to or I get to.
Yes, I had to change, or I got to change my wording when I said that, because I've noticed that when I'm able to remember to change my wording, and I have to remember to do this, or I have to change my mindset. When I say I get to change my mindset, I get to enjoy that, then it's a lot better outcome.
Metaphor that I like to use is of a boulder on your path. That was another kind of, I guess it was sort of a discovery journey that I did on myself. And so the way that I kind of look at it is I say the obstacle's not the obstacle. And it's always that, you know, if you want to look at it from a more empowered state, we kind of call these obstacles into our life to challenge us so that we can really show ourselves our own power and strength. And so that's kind of how I look at that.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
It's a bit of an odd one, but the tip of a saw blade, you know, because it's kind of jagged, right? And it needs to be jagged in order to cut. But because the saw would be useless if it were flat like a knife, right? It wouldn't be able to kind of really get through, especially, you know, the tougher materials, the metals and the woods and things like that, right? And what makes it effective, and what you notice when you look at it closely, is that the peaks are followed by valleys and the valleys are followed by peaks, right? And I just kind of think that if I'm having a bad time, then I must be in the valley, and that means a peak's coming soon, because that's the only way it'll work. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's like marathon running. That, not that I'm a marathon runner, but I've had a look at marathon running. That you have a level of your aerobic ability, as in how much oxygen you're taking in. And when you're in an aerobic phase, you have more oxygen coming into your body than you're expending. And when you push yourself further, you actually lose more oxygen than you're taking in. And the trick with marathon running, which is the sustained period, is that you just tip above and below like that valleys and troughs saw blade. And that way you can sustain the power and the energy for a very long time, because you're not doing too much in any one direction. So think of yourselves as marathon runners, that we're playing the long game, not the short game.
We're playing both games. We're playing all the games. We're playing
Right.
mind game. We're playing the mind game. No.
I have three that were popping into my head. So the first one is, for those of you who know Lillian Bridges, knew her. She had one that has always stuck with me, of the idea of the styrofoam brick wall. And the idea is, when you're looking down your path, it looks like there's a solid brick wall that you're going to have to punch your way through, break through, whatever. And it's amazing how many times when you get to that brick wall, if you decide to actually walk up to it and throw that first punch, you find out it's actually made of styrofoam. And the test was just to see if you were even willing to throw the punch in the first place. And then the next two there's spoiler alert. So I don't know how many of you watch Doctor Who. There's an episode, I think it's called Heaven, where basically the doctor gets in this loop and he has to get through this wall. And basically he keeps living that day over and over and over again. And he always writes the word bird in the dust at the end of the day, because he knows every single day that he's stuck in this place, if he gets up and he punches through this wall, eventually he's going to get through. And all that matters is that he's got that consistent, and he does, of course, end up getting through the wall, because every single day he makes a commitment to do everything he can, even though it's supposed to be an impossible thing. And then the third one, also spoiler alert, but is kind of that Indiana Jones moment from the third movie, when he has to do that leap of faith. And it's just so well acted. That feeling of, there's no way, this doesn't make any sense. No logic in the world. This is not safe. But no, I have to trust that if I take that step, it's going to work out. I don't know how it's going to work out. And then, once you could see it, it's obvious how it works. But it's only after you're willing to take that leap of faith that you can see how it works.
Those are all really good, you guys. We can see this recording again, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's on YouTube, Allegra.
I remember that. I remember that as I said it.
Elijah posted a really good quote by Muhammad Ali, so I'll read this because the quotes don't show up on the YouTube. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing.
One of my favorites.
And very, very, very true.
Right in the word itself, it says, I'm possible.
That's how they get you in the language control.
Yep.
Yep.
You guys have heard lots of my metaphors that I like to use with people. I just have one of the gifts that the universe has given me is coming up with metaphors for different people to help reframe things.
I listened to Mark Cunningham's Doors meditation or hypno meditation last night, and I'd forgotten how much I enjoyed that he takes the listener through a series of possibilities, imaginary possibilities in their lives, taking them through doorways. I mean, purpose of the hypnosis is different from this, but it's still relevant for what we're talking about. Imagining different scenarios and placing yourself in your imagination in different scenarios. And just being able to do that in your mind is enormously freeing for what else you could do. This is my response to that hypnosis every time. And if you haven't listened to it, I reckon it's a good one to listen to.
Did you put it in the chat?
I will put it in the chat.
All right, kids, 9 minutes left. Who's got a question, topic, or ahas, epiphanies, anything else you want to add? Apparently, the full moons we've had lately.
Look at us all jumping at once. Sorry, we're overpowering it.
Exactly.
I'm still processing all the exciting stuff that people have been feeding me. I'm really inspired. Yeah. Thank you. I was not knowing where to go, and now you've redirected me.
Yay!
This is a good one. They're always good. Nice up here. It's always something I need to know.
Just gonna see if I had any more quotes to share with you guys. Here's one by Joseph Addison. The grand essentials to happiness in this life are something to do, something to love, and something to hope for. I'll read that again. The grand essentials to happiness in this life are something to do, something to love, and something to hope for.
I agree. And I have.
Ready for one from Confucius? Confucius says, a man who has committed a mistake and doesn't correct it is committing another mistake. that again. A man who has committed a mistake and doesn't correct it is committing another mistake.
That's
And we get to
have.
lots of clients who
Hey, kitty.
know they've got challenges, but they're comfortable where they're at. They don't want to change. I think they just want to talk about it.
I think Jane Goodall has got some, I can't remember the quote, I apologize, but she's the primate lady, the one that's very much about saving gorillas and so on, if you don't know who she is. She was talking about the tiny decisions we make every day. She started a Roots and Shoots organization for kids to be more aware about their environment and their choices. And her stance is all the tiny decisions we make every day have a huge impact down the track. So be mindful of your thoughts and your decisions and your actions. They can magnify and make a huge difference, including the positive little ones, and noticing the little blessings and the little things that are going right. If you notice the little things, you'll notice bigger things and bigger things and bigger things. And like Elijah was saying, creating that flow of suddenly the universe is showing you all these wonderful things, like he's being spoken about in all sorts of webinars that he joins in, or chat rooms. So the little things do make a difference.
And I've told a number of clients, you are here because of every single decision you have made up to this point. Even the decisions you thought you didn't make, those were decisions. Tying right back into always be testing, are you where you wanted to be? What decisions were made that brought you here? Do you have the house that you want to live in? Are you driving the car you want to drive? Do you have the body that you want? Test your decisions. Well, go ahead.
And not making a decision is still a decision.
Yes.
What people forget, one of the things people forget.
Yeah. And I'm going to decide to read one more quote to you guys. That should bring us about time for me to close it down. Actually, I'll do a couple of them quick. One by Judy Garland. Always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of somebody else.
That's good.
I'll read it again. Always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of somebody else. Here's a section out of a song called Red Rag Top by Tim McGraw. Well, you do what you do and you pay for your sins, and there's no such thing as what might have been. That's a waste of time. Drive you out of your mind. I'll read it again. Well, you do what you do and you pay for your sins. And there's no such thing as what might have been. That's a waste of time. It'll drive you out of your mind. You can't look back at what has happened with the coulda, shoulda, woulda. You did the best you could at the time with the tools, knowledge, and energy you had available to you. If you could have done better, you would have. If you would have known then what you know now, you would have made different decisions. You would have done better. But you did the best you could at the time with the tools, the knowledge, and the energy you had available to you. And so did everybody else around you. So did your parents. So did your best friends. So did your ex. You're here today. What are you going to do about it tomorrow? What are you going to do differently? What choices are you going to make? What choices are you not going to make? Where do you want to be in 6 months, in a year, in 5 years? Which is a perfect close for the last quote by Jim Rohn, which is the reason why most people face the future with apprehension instead of anticipation is because they don't have it well designed. I'll read it again. The reason why most people face the future with apprehension instead of anticipation is because they don't have it well designed. Have a place to go, have a destination, have something that you want to become.
And enjoy the journey.
Huh?
And enjoy the journey.
And enjoy the journey. Yes,
Here.
things can change, and but
I'd be hugely disappointed if they didn't change on the way. I'd be really bored and kind of like, oh, I
very
predicted,
bored. Yes.
We need it, right? We need the variety and the surprise.
Yes. Been proven many times. And that brings us to the top of the hour. So once again, I get to thank you all for making this possible, for taking your very precious commodity, which is your time, which I cannot give back to you. I pray that you got something out of this that made it well worth your investment. For those of you watching on YouTube, hi Mom, love you. And for those of you watching the recording, thank you for making it all the way to the end. Share this, invite people on here. The more, the merrier. I love hearing all of your different outlooks and angles and ways of thinking about things. I learn as well as you do, which makes my life worth it. So until next week, thingy, love you, whatever. You guys are awesome. Take care. Now go out in the world and be nice to each other.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Wonderful.
Good night.
Night.